Happy New Year from Worship Tutorials. I hope 2017 is off to an awesome start for you and for your churches. Today I've got 5 New Year's resolutions that I think are important for worship leaders. But first, just a few words about New Year's resolutions. Whatever today is, decide to make positive changes today. Set goals for yourself. Come up with tangible steps that you can take to achieve those goals. But here are 5 New Year's resolutions for worship leaders. First resolution, and in my opinion, probably the most important one you can do as a believer in general, but as a worship leader as well, is to develop your spiritual life even more than you already are. Spend more time in prayer, spend more time seeking God, spend more time reading Scripture. I believe this will translate directly into you becoming a better, more effective worship leader. With all these goals, I think it's important to create tangible things that you can do, steps that you can take. So saying, I want to spend more time reading the Bible and praying this year is great, but it doesn't really give you anything specific to latch onto. So I would encourage you to say, maybe you want to spend 15 minutes every day reading the Bible. Maybe you want to read through the entire Bible this year. Find a reading plan that works for you. If you use the Bible app on your phone or device or on the computer, they have a lot of plans there. Come up with maybe that time frame. I want to spend 10 minutes in prayer every morning. Well, set your alarm clock 10 minutes earlier. Wake up and do it. Spend more time in that relationship with God, because that is the most important thing. The second resolution, I believe, for worship leaders is to build your volunteer teams, and not only build them, but invest in the volunteers that currently serve with you in your church. So maybe make it a goal that you're going to add one person to your team per month, and go after that. Do whatever it takes to go after that. If you have questions about how do I build volunteer teams, or why should I build volunteer teams, click up here. There will be a link to a video that Bryce and I made. He's a worship leader at my church, one of my colleagues, and we talk about how to build volunteer teams and why it's important to continually build those teams. Those teams are so important to you and to your church. Along with building those volunteer teams, I would encourage you to devote a considerable amount of time and energy to developing the relationship that you have with your current team members. Let them know how valuable they are to you and to your church. Resolution number 3 is to memorize your music. Now, I am not here to start a music stand debate. It's a hot topic for some reason, and I can't figure out why, but people get really passionate about music stands when you start talking about it. I will just say quickly, I believe that not using music stands is great. And there's a video here that you can click through and watch and see why I believe that. But I understand every church is different. But here's one thing I do know. I have not used a music stand on stage for years now. It really allows me to focus on things that are more important than what chord I'm playing or the next words that I'm going to sing. And it really has allowed me to engage with things that are far more important than a sheet of music in front of me. And I'm not saying that having a music stand in front of you means that you're locked into it like this. But I would encourage you to take one weekend, just one weekend this year where you're leading worship, memorize the music if that's not something that you do, and see if it makes a difference. And if it does, and if you think it makes a positive difference, then just continue that and go for the next weekend and try and make it a habit in your life. Number 4 is make it a point to become a better musician. If you play an instrument, develop your skill on that instrument. Never ever stop getting better at what you play if you play an instrument. If you sing, make it a point to become a better vocalist. So I'm a guitar player and I play a little bit of piano. And so one thing that I try and do is seek out resources that can help develop me as a guitar player, as a musician, also as a vocalist. So there are a couple websites that I like to use as far as guitar goes, and I'm going to link to them below. But the first one is worshipartistry.com. And Worship Artistry takes popular worship songs and they break it down and teach you exactly how to play all the parts, like lead guitar kind of parts. We don't focus on that as much here at Worship Tutorials. Certainly use Worship Tutorials as a resource to develop your skill if you need to learn how to play a song or some basic guitar lessons. But Worship Artistry sort of takes it to the next level. It's not free, but I do believe it's well worth the money that they ask for it. Another resource that I like to use for guitar lessons is called TrueFire.com, and it's just a collection of lessons, and they actually have a lot of really high caliber instructors, and I have found some great resources on TrueFire.com. There are hundreds of resources out there for any instrument that you might play. A bonus tip here is to learn a new instrument. So if you're a guitar player, maybe find some keyboard piano resources and start to learn how to play. It will help you become a much better, more well-rounded musician all the way around. The last resolution that I have today is to be intentional in your relationship with your senior pastor or senior leadership that you report to, that you work with. I know this can be an area of tension for a lot of worship leaders, especially in churches, and I've been involved in churches like this where maybe senior leadership has one vision for worship, and maybe you as the worship leader might have another vision for worship. This is kind of a tough pill to swallow if you find yourself in that situation, but I believe, and I believe that it's biblically taught that we are to submit to senior leadership in our church. So what I would encourage you to do is set up a meeting with your pastor, with your senior pastor, or whoever you work alongside and report to on a weekly basis, and go into that meeting. I would encourage you to do it. You take the initiative and do this, and go into that meeting with one agenda in mind, and that is to say to that person, I am here to support you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to carry out the vision that God has given you for this church. Let me know how I can do it. And I think especially if you find yourself in a relationship that's kind of tense, saying that to that person will probably break down walls, will probably break down barriers. It will go a long way to strengthen that relationship. And if you have a great relationship, it will just strengthen it even more, because I believe we are to partner together with senior pastors in our church. I would encourage you to have, I guess, two agendas in that meeting. Ask what can I do to help? And number two, okay, what are the specific steps that we can take together to make this thing happen? And come up with tangible things that you can do. Come up maybe with a list of tangible things that your pastor can do. Maybe say, hey, I'd love to be able to get songs scheduled 2 weeks in advance. What can we do to make that happen? Because I know a lot of places that doesn't happen. So take some time, develop that relationship with that senior pastor, senior leadership. So I know that was 5 resolutions, but I do have one more that I think is really important, that I think will go a long way in helping you lead worship. The vision that we have here at Worship Tutorials is that every church in the world, every single church, would have worship that is both excellent and authentic. And you can do those two things, excellence and authenticity, with any budget. No budget, tons of budget, with any size team, whether you've got 100 people on your worship team, instrumentalists and musicians, or maybe there's just a few of you. You can achieve excellence and authenticity. Excellence has to do with how we prepare, planning, that kind of thing. But the authenticity piece has to do with who you are as a person and how you let that personality show. Let people see that you're a person like they are, that you go through things like they go through things, that you have struggles, that you have highs, that you have lows. I think that'll go a long way, and it will develop trust. So part of authenticity is trust, and people, if they trust you, they will allow you to lead them more effectively. So be more personal from the platform, and I say that to myself as well. It's something that I'm always trying to think about. How can I be myself this weekend on stage, and how can I allow that to make me a more effective worship leader? So there you go, 5 things that you can work on this year that I think any worship leader in the world, in any church, can work on, that will allow them to be a much more effective worship leader. Thanks for watching. See you next time.